Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with the September kit for Create and INKspire. Remember, this has been created by our very own Courtney Kreeber, and I will make sure that everything is linked down below. And remember, she also has a membership, and if you are part of the membership, you will receive 10% off of your kit. And I have a special announcement at the end, so make sure you get to the end to get your special gift. So as always, she puts in this cute little special treat, and of course this one is the gummy bears and gives you a little bit of history. You also get a full packet of the 3D foam squares by Scrapbook Adhesives. You get 2 pieces, and these are A2 size, of spiderweb pattern paper. Now, speaking of the paper, this is an add-on that is available. It can be purchased separately, and you get 24 double-sided sheets of pattern paper, which I think is really great. It's simply black and white, and again, it is the reverse of each other on each side. So I thought that was really cool. Again, it is an add-on, and I'll make sure that all of that is linked down below as well. You are getting a packet of embellishment mix by Trinity Stamps. You are getting these awesome Pear Blossom Easy Lights. When I saw this, that was going to be in the kit, I did send an email and say, really? One of these lights? Yeah. If you notice, I've never done one of these before, because you needed the copper tape and you needed the little tiny stickers and you had to know what was plus, what was minus. Let me tell you what, Pear Blossom has really made it easy for us. Now, this is your sentiments stamp set. Now, that one sentiment that says, have witchin' good Halloween, yours will say, have a witchin' good Halloween. So that will be corrected, not a problem. And then, of course, you get these great images with your 4x6 stamp set called Haunted. Now, I'm showing 3 pieces of Neenah Solar White. You're only getting 2. I grabbed one of mine. I always grab another one to cut down and get ready. So you get 2 pieces of Neenah Solar White 80-pound classic crest cardstock and 2 pieces of black. So let's get started right away into our card. So I grabbed I have some Post-it strip tape that I had gotten from my local Joann's, and I just placed that across the top. As you can see, I thought I was gonna, okay, let's draw this in. Yeah, no, let's just make that line. And I grabbed a couple of my oxides, weathered wood and hickory smoke. I am using my makeup brushes to blend, and then at the bottom I am using some black soot. So I just wanted a gray base to the items and how I'm going to color them. Of course, I get ink all over the place because that is what I do. Yes. I cut out a circle that will sit up in my upper right-hand corner because, of course, that's going to be the moon. And I'm pulling in tumbled glass first. Now, this kind of creates the halo for me, even though you've got this huge white. Then I'm going to come in with broken china. Now, for this video, here's my statement that I always say. Yes, this is a long video. I did keep as much of the coloring in as I could. There was just one card where I didn't keep all of the coloring, but a lot of the blending and everything else that I'm building here, I did keep within this video. So you're going to see a lot, but I did have to speed it up. So, okay, tumbled glass, broken china, faded jeans, blueprint sketch, and now wilted violet is coming in. And you can see just how I start. As I keep adding each of those layers, I then go back to the center, keeping that halo that's going around that mask. The masking paper that I'm using is a combination. I finally used up my Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo, and I'm going into my Simon Says stamp. That is the masking paper of choice for me. I also am a fan of the Gina K because she awesomely identified what side not to stamp on. I always stamp on the wrong side for the Simon Says. It's really funny. So as I pull away my strip, as you can see, got carried away as I was going around the corner. So I have some of my purple down there. Not a big deal. I am just going to add some black soot down there and just cover her up. You can hardly see it. It goes away. So I'm going to create 2 masks for the gravestones or coffins. However you want to look at them. They can be either or. So I'm going to cut them out. Now, when I cut out these masks, I am actually giving it a border like we would when we fussy cut. And there's a reason why I'm doing that you will say. And again, as always, everything I do, I'm sure, always has an easier way to do it. It's usually just something that I pull together and come up with. So I'm going to set both of these masks down where I want them to lay, or how I want them to be on the card. So I'm kind of balancing out this, I guess you could call it a scene. I'm coming in with my craft knife to cut along that edge that I gave as a little tiny expansion on it. So I'm cutting around that. I do cut around this twice to make sure that it did go through. I am cutting into Bristol cardstock because I always, when I use my oxides to do a background, I like to be on that just in case I add a lot of water. Bristol cardstock will take that water. So now I'm stamping these images onto a piece of vellum. And I'm using my black soot oxide, and I'm using my Nuvo black embossing powder. So now that I've cut them out, I'm using that as my guide on that piece, because now I'm going to place a mask over the one on the vellum, and then I'm going to stamp that piece based on how it's sitting on the design piece that I did with all of the blending, because this is going to sit up underneath that. Again, I put a mask there so that I could have one in front of the other, and then I heat set those. So what we're going to create is a shaker card. So I put my glue around the piece the area that we cut out, and then I'm just going to set that right up on top of the vellum, or put the vellum right in there. And then I'm going to put lots of double-sided foam tape, and I'm going to fill this up with the smaller of the embellishment mix. So the pumpkins, the bats, the little tiny dust that's in there, and the confetti sequins that are in there as well. I'm going to back this with a really bright green, lime green piece of cardstock. And then I'm just going to cut around it on an angle so that I just have that base. This way, then, you know that you're cutting out that piece, and you don't have to worry about it matching up perfectly. I'm going to use my oxide again to stamp my sentiment, Happy Halloween, and just put that right along that line. You can see how I do have that halo as well when it comes to the background. I'm going to add some of the bats as an embellishment, just like we would our sequins or pearls or gems. But I figured the bats would be really cool, even sitting in front of that, that bright moon that we've got going on there. And that is our first card. So for our next card, actually, again, I'm going to build a scene. This is usually something I don't do. So, again, in honor of Courtney's kit, she helps me to get out of my comfort zones as well. We all have certain things that we enjoy doing, things that we fall to. Hers is definitely alcohol markers. Oh my goodness. And scene building. I have issue stamping, so it's really funny. Just saying. But it's a way to get us out of those comfort zones and to try new things. So me doing this is pretty new. So you're going to see me go back and forth with different things. So I built, and again, this is a very small scene, 3 items I had, and I even made an error on this. So I wanted the hat in front of the cauldron. So remember, whatever you want to be in the absolute front, you have to stamp that first. So I totally forgot. I stamped the cauldron first. That's not a problem. We have that just in the front, and I have the hat just sitting towards the back. Not a big deal. So I am showing all of my alcohol marker coloring. I have the Prismacolor alcohol markers. And I'm just adding in my shades. I do want to, whenever I do have an item, whether it is a scene such as this, or even a single item. Usually it is a single item for me when I'm using my colored pencils. I like to ground it. I have to ground that piece in some way. Now, I usually just find a way to do that. Again, I really don't, when it comes to the concept of light source and shadows, I pick a side. Usually I'm always saying my light's on the right hand side coming down to the left. So everything just leans, looks like it leans towards to the left. And that's really as far as I go when it comes to the idea of the light source. I'm still practicing with that and working with that. But you can see, for me, alcohol markers are a challenge. But I keep practicing with them. I want to use my alcohol markers like I do my colored pencils. And it's funny because when I say I'm using my colored pencils, I use them like alcohol markers. I put down my light color first, and then I go in with my dark, and then I come in with my medium, and then I go back over with my light, and then I'll reverse it back and forth a bunch of times. So I think it's kind of funny. But again, it's just like when you get used to something, to switch over, there might be a different technique that you would need to use for the different medium. So it's always something to take into consideration and think about. So I do enjoy continuing to practice and to build up these skills, these techniques. So you can see I was gabbing through, and of course my cat's going to play with a bag right now, so if you hear that, so sorry. So you can see, I'm building up, or I've done all of my coloring here, and I'm keeping all of that in so that you can see, you have a black hat, you have a black cauldron. Again, use your different, I just used my different tones, or had more light, more dark, so that they can be separated from each other. Now, the masks are going to come back in to play because I do need to I want to put a background on this of some sort. Not a whole scene, shelves and walls and everything. I just want to put some colors. So I'm going to pull out one of my strips again, and I'm going to set that down. And I'm going to use, oh, my cat is so silly. And I'm going to use tumbled glass and squeezed lemonade. I figured yellow, blue, I'm going to get this green, an eerie green. Now again, you can, oh no, I used twisted citron. So that hugely bright green going over that blue, it's got more of a yellow tint, so it's going to make more of another shade of green as well. So I just wanted that halo to go on in the background there. I just clean my brushes using a microfiber cloth that's dry, and I just keep rubbing them until no more ink comes off. So that's what our panel looks like. Now, because this is a piece of Bristol cardstock, I am going to trim this down, and I'm actually going to end up trimming it down to be 4 by 5 1/4. I'm going to use my black VersaFine ink to add the sentiment, "Have a spectacular day." I'm going to mount this onto a black piece of cardstock that's cut 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I will set this down onto my standard A2 size card base. Again, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And depending upon how the card's sitting, this is going to be a landscape card, so it will be a side opening card. Again, I'm going to add some of those bats, and I'm even going to pull out one of the spiders and set that down onto the ground as well. I did that very cautiously when it came to the spider. Not a spider fan, just saying. Yeah, I use my wax pencil when it comes to sequins and gems and jewels and everything when I put them on my card. My wax pencil just did not want to pick up those bats. Tweezers worked very well. So for our next card, just looking at pattern paper, I pulled out one of the pieces of pattern paper from the paper pack add-on, and again they are 6 by 6, and then I just pulled some different cardstocks from my stash. I love the look of black, purple, and lime green for Halloween. So I also used, within the paper pack, there are some great sentiment cards. So I just kept on enlarging the pieces of cardstock that I cut down and created the mats. So I have 4 mats that are just going to stay the same size. So I started out with 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. Then I cut the lime one down to be 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. I cut the purple down to be 4 by 5 1/4. And then I have the cardstock panel, which is 3 3/4, by 5. And then I did the same thing. I measured my sentiment panel, and then I just enlarged each of those as well and turned them at the same time so that it would have this different look, like a fan, like it's turning down into a tunnel. Once they were all together, I used the double-sided foam squares that came in the kit, and I propped that up. Very simple. Let your pattern paper do the work for you. So this is the coloring I didn't keep in. So I did a whole bunch of those little pumpkins, and I did use my alcohol markers again to color them. So what I did was I also then fussy cut them out, and then I used my Memento pen to go around the outside to make it look like I did great fussy cutting, because I don't do great fussy cutting. I took the Boo sentiment, used my VersaFine black ink, stamped that all over my panel, which was cut to 4 and 5 1/4, and I'm using my clear embossing powder to go over that. So I'm doing a resist. I'm putting some wilted violet. I'm going to use some broken china, and I'm also going to use the blueprint sketch colors in my oxides, and I'm just putting these down firmly. And again, these are my makeup brushes that I am using. Once I'm done, I'll be able to wipe away the ink that got on top of the sentiment that I just stamped all over, the Boo. Now, what I did was, when I did stamp these, I did make sure that one was kind of strategically placed where I would normally put a sentiment, or in the area. What I'm going to do next is, for each of the pumpkins that I have, there's 2 eyes. So I'm going to place those pumpkins on top of the two O's so that the eyes are spelling out boo. It may not look it, but to me it did. So I thought it was neat. I thought it was different. Again, using the double-sided foam squares. I did add some shimmer by Hero Arts, and when I use the shimmer like that, I just shake it really well for a little bit, and then I just use the spray mechanism and I just flick that onto my card base. I have all of my double-sided foam squares in place, and I am going to make sure that these are sitting in the same direction at which the sentiment is sitting. There are some that are hanging off the edge, and that's fine as well. I will be trimming them after I get my mats in place for this panel. I'm going to leave the one that's kind of sitting right there where I would normally put one and let that say boo. So the pumpkins are kind of adding that, I don't know. They're adding something. Forgot what I was going to say. So again, my colored panel was cut to 4 5 1/4. The orange panel is cut 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, and then the black panel is cut to be 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Here I am trimming off those edges. I'm just making sure nothing else is hanging off, and I'm going to place this panel once again onto my standard A2 size card base. And that is that card. It's one of my favorites. Okay, so yes, I'm going to give a try to this Easy Light. We're going to see. Oi. So, with this kit, I really loved the images. So I'm just going to gab for a little bit. Really love the images to build your scenes, get used to masking, getting used to fussy cutting. Again, when we don't like to do something like me, or we feel we're not good at it, we want to shy away from that. I am not good at fussy cutting. So this helped me to continue to do that. So you can see I've got masks, I've got my 3 chandeliers or my 3 candlesticks laid out now. They're going to be in the center of my piece, and I'm okay with them being in the center of this piece, and you'll see why. I'm pulling out my craft knife to cut out the flames. I'm making sure that I'm on the outer edge of the black stamped area because I don't want that to be there either. So I'm just going to continue to cut around those. And now I'm going to put my masks back in place. Yeah, this is a whole step thing. So you see me, oh, okay, I forgot to do this. So now I've got to go back and do that again. Yeah, this was fun. So I've put all of my masks back in place. Now I want to do my background. So again, I'm starting out with the wilted violet. I'm using a very light hand because wasn't quite sure. I knew what I wanted it to look like, but I didn't know how it was going to come out. So I figured going lighter first, then adding the darker, getting darker is better. It's always better. So the next color I'm pulling in is the Blueprint Sketch, and I want it to be heavy on the edge. So again, I've got ink going on everywhere. So yeah, pulling in just a scrap piece of cardstock so that I can set that down so that my hands aren't going in and getting prints all over the place. So you can see I kind of have that highlight that's going along the center. Now I'm going to come in a little bit heavier with the wilted violet, and I made sure that that was blended out. I'm going to remove my masks, and you can see I have my images set in place. I pulled out my colored pencils, so my candles are going to be a yellow, and I'm going to be adding a golden yellow, almost a tan color, to add to their shading. Okay, and again, even still, I'm looking at the two that are next to each other. I'm looking at the one that's off to the side, you know, where these shadows would be. But again, it's not my complete focal point. These are round, so I am going to put shadows on each side to make sure that they are looking as if they are round. if that makes sense. Same thing with the bases of the candlesticks, to make sure that they do have a round appearance. Again, you do want your shadows on each side, but it all depends on how much more shadow you're going to put on one side to determine that light source. Again, for me, it's very involved, and I just want to get to crafting. So I put the concept of light source in. I don't follow it fully, and I'm good with that. I have fun. So for my candlesticks, I did want to choose a green, make sure it's like that eerie lime green as well. So I am making sure, again, I'm coming in with that lime green first. That's my light color, and then I come in with my darker colors. As I use my colored pencils, it's always with a light hand so that I can continue to build up my layers. I never want to not be able to build up my layers so that I can continue with my shadows and my depth that I want to add to each of my images. I'm going to stamp my sentiment using my VersaFine ink again that says Happy Halloween just down onto the bottom. I punched out a black circle and I wrote with one of my acrylic pens, push. So I'm just looking at where I'm going to put that little icon. Now, I probably would have looked better at the base of the chandeliers, would have helped to ground them, but I was good with it off to the side. So I've cut my piece of vellum, and I'm going to put that in place using my liquid adhesive. I just grabbed a yellow alcohol marker just to give that some color, so that when these are bright. I'm sitting here playing with the card, and wow, these are bright. These are awesome, actually. So anyway, so I'm just puncturing a hole so that I know where to put my push button. So when I look at, I'm putting the double-sided tape, which is what I'm going to use to adhere this, and adhere these strings and everything else, is the part that says Pear Blossom, I'm going to put down. Now, where I put the hole puncher, or puncture, see that little square piece next to the circle, if I stop putting my hands in front of it, that's the push mechanism. That's where I want that to be, under where I poked the hole. All right, and then the battery's already sitting in there. Now, something I didn't think about, if somebody wanted to keep this and just replace the batteries, yeah, they can't do that because I've closed up the card. So something to think about for next time. So I put accidentally double-sided tape above the flames because I was going to bring the lights down upon the flame, but then I remembered I want to put them up on the flame so that the brightest part is at the base where the wick is. And that's how I am strategically placing these three wires. Now, you got to make sure that you have them set, and then just grab your, you can see I'm just, grabbing double-sided tape and going to town and making sure I'm pushing them down into it or covering it over and making sure that it works. Yes, even with me not doing the other ones, I think they were called Chibitronics, something like that, without the copper tape, without those stickers that you had to have, without needing to know what was plus or negative and everything else, this was such an easy process. I can see people, we are going to get frustrated because they are not going to be available. They're going to continuously sell out. So that's a good thing. But definitely fell in love with it. First time ever did that. And I watched Courtney's video and she helped me get through that. Just kept on hearing her in the back. Oh, you just do this, just do this. Kept on. It's like addicting, like a shaker card. I just want to keep on pushing that. You can see the two holes that I punched. Because, yeah, the first one I put pull. Yeah. So I am going to set that down onto my standard A2 size card base. Know that it's going to keep pushing. It's addicting to keep pushing that. But have fun with it. Give it a try. but remain patient. They are going to, I'm sure Amanda with Pear Blossom is going to get more in soon. These are the cards that we made using the Create and INKspire. Okay, so what I had you wait for till the end. There is a coupon that I have. You will see it up on the screen here, and I will have it down below. This is good for 3 days. Now, 3 days meaning today. It's going to start today. It started at this morning on the 20th. So it is only good until the 22nd, until 11:59 of September. You will get 10% off your kit. Now, if you happen to be a member of her club as well, that's another 10% that you will get off. Because if you are a member, you already get 10% off your kit. And now with my code, you'll get another 10% off of your kit. So if we add that together, yes, that's 20% off. But also know she's having a huge sale right now on her 2 previous kits. So there are still some available, and right now she's having a sale there for 25% off of those kits. Don't forget about the add-ons that are available as well. Now, the 25% off only is for the previous kits. It is not applied to the September kit. So I know it's a lot going on. It's going to be in my blog post. It's going to be down below. So make sure you read all of this carefully. Okay? 10% off from me. Plus, if you're a member, another 10% equals 20. If you're not a member, you'll just get 10% off. All right? If you have any questions, make sure you list those down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And by all means, I will also have links to everything you need to get to so that you can get your kit today. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to subscribe, hit that button, make sure you ring the bell so that you know when the next video is ready for you to watch. Remember, everyone, though, continue to enjoy your day, but remember what's most important for me. And we do it every day, we just don't know it. Always be creative. Till next time, guys.